Broadcasting live from the HR Media Studio. Well, not exactly, but here at UStreamRadio.com. Yours truly, Diamond K, joined as always by the Jammer, Jeff Daniels. How you doing, sir?
Well, good evening, Diamond K. Where are you broadcasting from?
Parts unknown. I'm parts unknown.
All right. That's a good cover. Parts unknown.
Absolutely.
Well, how are you, my friend?
Always good. Always good. Today, of course, we're going to talk about the greatest tag teams in history, and this show particularly has been a long time coming, but I thought it was definitely good to get into it today with the tag team situation in the WWE changing. They're really going back to tag teams. We're seeing a lot of tag teams forming. A division has developed, and that's really a throwback because WWE has not traditionally been a tag team territory, if you will.
It's been a long time since I've seen tag team championship belts. So
yeah,
those things are nice, man. Those things are nice. You can see that they're really ready to get on and put tag teams back into the show. And Kane and Daniel Bryan, I'm kind of into that little comedy sketch, that little sketch they do with No, and Kane, and Kane is speaking regular now.
yeah.
What happened?
You remember when he?
Kane? Yeah, what
he
happened?
used to use the voice box, and now he's just talking regular.
Boy, I tell you, modern in medicine is something, isn't it?
Absolutely. Of course, you can send us your thoughts, info at dmvwrestling.com. Also 347-326-9396. The opening song that I started out with was the theme that the Road Warriors used when they were in the NWA. All in all, your thoughts on the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom as a tag team?
Well, they were really a new age. Hawk and Animal out of the streets of Chicago, managed by Precious Paul Ellering. They were new age. We had never really seen anything quite like that in professional wrestling, but the face paint and the spiked shoulder pads and the domination that they would do inside of the ring. They were the first to do it, and really nobody else have come close. And when we do our top 5 of all time, well, I guess I'm down to 4 now because they're on my list. But Animal and Hawk, and God rest his soul, Hawk, passed away about 5 years ago. But, boy, what they did, what they gave the NWA and all the federations, all the at the time territories was unbelievable. They were hit everywhere. Of course, they got their big start in Minneapolis, Minnesota with Vern Gagne and AWA, like so many of the great ones. But Animal and Hawk was a dominating, no-nonsense, rock and wrestling type connection, and they were over. There's a big wrestling term. They were really over everywhere they went. They put asses in the seat. Hello?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean,
they put asses in the seat. I mean, Parts Unknown is really kind of strange, Don.
Yeah.
I hope you'll be okay.
The thing, yes. The thing about the Road Warriors,
they were something that you've never seen before in wrestling. And
did you think that I think that Goldberg kind of came from the Road Warriors school,
sure.
Whereas though they didn't really sell that much.
All that dominating, all that power, all that dominating, not so much wrestling, but just, body pressing your opponent and bam, a lot of slamming and high-flying act. Yeah, I mean, they also did some high-flying.
Right.
Their finishing maneuver was the lariat from Animal off the top rope while being held by Hawk. I mean, by vice versa, by Hawk.
Right.
Animal would hold the opponent, and he would come off the top rope. And they were big guys. And so, yeah, all that power, the Goldberg and the Sid Vicious and all those powers of pain, if you will. If you remember those guys, all that, dominate. At WWE, they tried, or back then, the WWF, they tried to come up with a tag team similar to Road Warriors, but they never really kind of matched up to the Road Warriors, but they were decent, and that's Demolition.
Right.
They were supposed to be like a spinoff of the Road Warriors. Action Smash.
I think they eventually came into their own, though.
They were decent.
Demolition. Yeah.
Yeah, they were decent. They by no means did they have the success of the Road Warriors, but for what they were and what they were supposed to be, maybe they didn't reach what they were supposed to be, but at the time Vince McMahon was on the move. WWE was it, or WWF was it, and Animal and Action Smash, Demolition, they were pretty good. They were serviceable. Is the word you'll hear the Jammer use a lot.
Definitely
either serviceable or Ham and Eggers. and they were on the serviceable side of things.
The thing about those two guys, Demolition, one being of course Barry Darsow, that had a run as several different characters.
Khrushchev.
Yes. Yes.
He was the third Russian that was born in America, with Ivan Koloff and, of course, Nikita Koloff.
Absolutely.
Down in the Jim Crockett era. And the reason you kind of knew it was the same guy is because of that tattoo with wings on it. And when he went to I noticed everything, Diamond. When he went to the WWF, Vince put a shoulder pad on it to try to cover it up because that was a dead giveaway.
Oh, yeah.
They were one and the same, but he was also the Repo Man for a minute.
Good old Repo Man. Who else? Who's some other teams that are on your list of all-time greats?
Well, like anything, I kind of like old school. I kind of, I respect the past so much that I always mention some of the old school wrestlers in any sport. But one of the best tag teams ever came out of Texas, and they gave us the American Dream, actually, and that was the tag team of Dusty Rhodes, Stardust, and Dirty Dick Murdoch.
Oh, yeah.
They ran Texas, and it wasn't until Dusty decided that literally he wanted to be a solo wrestler and literally left Murdoch in Texas. I mean, literally drove to Florida just to get away from him. Not because they later formed a tag team in Florida. They worked, but not like they did in Texas when Dusty was first starting. I mean, Murdoch and Rhodes there was Murderers Row. But Dusty went to Florida, of course, ran that down there for the longest. But before then, he was partnered up with Dick Murdoch, and boy, they were hell on wheels. So they were one of my old school favorite tag teams, and I'm giving you my top 5. Road Warriors, of course.
Texas Outlaws.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were.
Before you go past that, I want to talk a little bit about Dick Murdoch. Your thoughts on Dick Murdoch as a performer? Was he underrated? Was he overrated? Did Dusty carry the team, or did he carry his weight, Dick Murdoch?
Well, I said Dusty left because Captain Redneck, that's what he was known as when he did his solo wrestling. He was very underrated, but he was back in the era of not much television and territories. But he's, God rest his soul.
Absolutely.
But he had a long career in pro wrestling, and he was good until the end. He was real entertaining, and so I would say, compared to today's standards, he was probably underrated. But again, very little television back then, and it was territories. So we here in Baltimore, we didn't see, the tag team champions. Hell, in North Carolina even. That was NWA. That was Jim Crockett in NWA area. But that's probably what really hurt Dick Murdoch. But he had a nice little run into WWE toward the end.
Yeah, toward
the end. And he had a nice run with Jim Crockett and in Florida. And, so. But, yeah, Dusty Rhodes literally left them to get away from them so they could, make bigger money for themselves.
Right,
and that's
Solo.
Dusty knew that everybody would be fine, but they were so over as a tag team that it kind of ran its course. Another tag team on my list is Handsome Jimmy and Luscious Johnny.
Classic tag team.
Yes, managed by Captain Louis Albano, the captain, the guiding light he would call himself, and that's the Valiant Brothers. Jimmy Valiant.
Absolutely.
And Jerry Valiant. Boy, they were kind of, I don't know what you would say about them. They were strictly kind of the Golden Boy, West Coast, type guys. Well, the names Luscious Jimmy and, Luscious Jimmy and Handsome Johnny. No, it was Luscious Johnny and Handsome Jimmy. Jimmy Valiant, who became the Boogie Woogie Man, and who I talk to every now and again on Facebook.
And what a transition that he made.
Didn't he?
Still wrestling today, too.
Still, yeah. I mean, he's really small. He's a vegetarian. Been one for years. But, he turned into the Boogie Woogie Man. And, which I really didn't enjoy, actually. I didn't really like the boy from
You didn't
York
like that?
gimmick.
You didn't like the...
No, I didn't like the beard and all that. I was really
funny thing about that, it doesn't seem like I should like it. It seems very WWF-ish.
Exactly.
And in the NWA, I thought that was a very funny gimmick. But I actually enjoyed that gimmick. The kids liked it. It was just one of those things. It was over. One of those things. Oh, definitely. He was definitely.
I'm not going to take that away from him. But I enjoyed him when he was with Johnny Valiant, and then they had a third member, Jerry Valiant. And when he came along, it was pretty much over. But back in the late '70s, they were part of a card that could sell at Madison Square Garden, the Philadelphia Spectrum, the Garden. Like I said, Madison Square Garden, the little Baltimore Civic Arena, and the Capitol Center in 1 week. So, the Valiant Brothers. And, again, Vince tried to bring back that Valiant Brothers type thing back in the WWE heavy gimmick wrestling days, and that was with the Beverly Brothers, if you recall.
Yeah.
That was kind of a bad spinoff of the Valiant Brothers.
I don't know if you knew that or not. I know that. I didn't know that, and they were definitely not a good imitation of them. But now that you say that, I can see what they were.
He tried it again with the Beverly Brothers, and it just didn't fly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Before we get to your list, let's see. Of the Road Warriors. Okay, what about the Rock and Roll Express? Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. Come on.
Very good team. Very good team.
Very, very good team. And not only were they, I could say Robert Gibson wasn't that great on the mic, but the other one, I can't think of his name now.
Ricky Morton.
Ricky Morton, yeah. He was kind of the mouthpiece. They didn't have a manager. And they were real 80ish, with the bandanas and everything and the music. A little on the hillbilly side, but it was, it was down south. To me, tobacco spitting,
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the little white girls really enjoyed them. And, they were pretty good. And the thing about them, though, they were very good in the ring. They were very good workers. It was one of those things that, they had a lot of gimmicks, but they could back it up. They were very good.
Oh, yeah.
They put on some excellent matches. And last on my list before we get to Diamond K's list, and without a doubt, I guess when I say this, you have to agree. Anybody that's a wrestling fan would probably go, oh, yeah. But what about Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson?
Absolutely. They're also on my list.
They're on your
Tully
list,
and Arn. Yes, definitely. Tully and Arn.
Wow.
I mean, just two singles wrestlers, but put together, they were definitely a fluent team in the NWA, and then, of course, later in the WWF as the Brainbusters. Their styles complemented each other. I mean, Tully is a natural heel and just somebody that the fans just love to hate. And
just the other
Arn,
day, yeah, go ahead about Arn. Go ahead.
Arn, just a technician and truly the enforcer.
As Dusty Rhodes said just the other day, I pulled out the this year's Hall of Fame inductees, and I watched when the Four Horsemen went in. Mm-hmm. And Dusty Rhodes, was the guy that spoke before they went in. I guess he's the kind of guy that, put him in there, brought him out. And he described Arn Anderson like this. He said this man was born to be a wrestler, and that's all he'll ever be. He lived as a wrestler, and he will die as a wrestler. And you know how Dusty is, pretty much to the point. And I thought that was so true. He said he's just a wrestler. It's just he'll do nothing else in life. And he's really big now in the WWE. And I said that's a pretty good way to describe Arn Anderson. Dusty Rhodes said he's just wrestling. If you can't find enough letters to put wrestling up on the marquee, just put Arn, and everybody will know that wrestling's in town. So, yeah, that's my little list. I mean, there's some people we could leave out, honorable mentions,
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
And before I get to your list, now, this is what I like about a tag team. I hate two single wrestlers, kind of like Daniel Bryan and Kane, two good single wrestlers that the bookies put together. I prefer a tag team to come in together. That's all they do. That's all they ever done is tag team wrestling. And they're normally the better ones because that's just what they do. Night in and night out, town and country and, continent to continent. So I don't like the, okay, two good single wrestlers. Okay, you guys are together now. So I prefer.
I don't like when they do that and they keep their separate identities, their separate trunks, and that type of thing. But when they put them together, if they truly mesh as a tag team, I think that sometimes two singles wrestlers trying to find their way, if they can unite under colors or name or something like that, then sometimes it can work out, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, when a promoter comes to you or a bookie or anybody or booker for a show, and it's to the point that they have to put you with somebody to get you over, your days are pretty much numbered, especially if you or whoever you're tagging with. That's kind of like the last stop before the door. You didn't work as a singles wrestler, so I'm going to team you up with Diamond K. And if you don't work with Diamond K, I tell you what, it's been real. So that's kind of how I like it. I like a tag team that comes in as a tag team, and then maybe split them up or something like that. But like the Dudley Brothers, I guess I could have put them on there. There's a lot of tag teams that I could have made this list, but those would be the ones that I would mention.
Absolutely. Of course, the Road Warriors were on my list, but also on my list, the Midnight Express. The Midnight Express, of course, arch rivals, if you will, of the Rock and Roll Express, had some wars. And there were several incarnations of the Midnight Express, but the one that I enjoyed the most, being Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan Lane, was the rendition that I liked the best. But also, Beautiful Bobby and Loverboy Dennis was a good
That was the
incarnation.
one I preferred.
Yeah.
That was the one I preferred. And of course they had the mouthpiece of all mouthpieces.
Absolutely.
Of all mouthpieces, Jim Cornette. And you know the Midnight Express, they never talked.
Right.
They couldn't
They
kind
talk.
of moan. They would fix Cornette's tie or kind of look at the camera, but they didn't have to say a word. Cornette did all the talking. They were close to being on my list. You know, it was either them or the Rock and Roll Express, and they both made each other good.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing about wrestling. If your opponent don't get you over, your opponent is also very important in getting you over. Without the Freebirds, there would have been no Von Erichs.
Right.
Without Dusty Rhodes and whomever, there would have been no Four Horsemen. You have to have that opponent that also helps get you over. Without, I would say, probably not true in this instance, but I'll just say they were good in the ring together. And that was Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard. They were great. They got each other over. It was a feud. Yeah. It lasted for years. You never got tired of it. You know, you could buy a house with that feud.
Yeah, what's strange about that is right now WWE is rare.
That gets you over for a long time.
I mean, WWE right now, they're running a program with Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio, and it feels like I've seen this feud for a year. And it's as stale as it can be. But in contrast to what you're saying,
it's probably time for them to do something with Sheamus. I don't know what. Del Rio
do you think he's that? Is he ready to be the lead baby face in WWE?
No, I don't think he's there yet.
I just don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's that guy.
I think he's a good mid-carder.
Yeah.
But he has no one to do.
That's about it.
You know, Del Rio, I don't know. Like you said, that it's something I'm not buying about that feud. Maybe because they're both from, I don't know. Maybe because Del Rio is more of the Mexican and Sheamus is from Ireland. You know, I don't know. It's just something that's not flying with the Irish.
I think it's the Irish accent. I think if Sheamus was an American, I think he would be more marketable. Of course, if you're listening live.
Yeah.
Right. It would be easy to digest. If you're listening live, our live stream is going to stop momentarily, but you'll be able to check us out in the archives as we're going to go into a bit of overtime.
We're headed to the archives.
Absolutely. Also on my list, and this may surprise you, but the Fabulous Freebirds on my list. The thing I liked about the Freebirds, and I think that they fall victim to what you were saying, is being singles wrestlers that were put together, but I think that they meshed, and individually I didn't like them as much as I liked them as an interchangeable unit. Terry Gordy being the backbone. Yeah, the backbone, the big man of that group. And I really, really enjoyed that group, and they had a lot of heat in the Texas area with the aforementioned Von Erichs.
World-class championship wrestling. Hey, without the Freebirds, they would have been, the Von Erichs were popular, but with the Freebirds, they became mega superstars down there in Dallas. I mean, they were just as popular as Roger Staubach, man, down there in Dallas. They were huge. Terry Von Erich's brother Kevin, most of them died of drugs and, suicide or something. Wrestling's not easy business. But you couldn't be any more over. Maybe a Hogan, but even back then, in Dallas, I'm telling you, these guys couldn't go to the grocery store. I mean, the Von Erichs, and of course that was because they were feuding, and of course you mentioned the Freebirds. You forgot Buddy Jack Roberts.
Oh yeah,
the old guy. You know who they brought along, and of course
he was like the manager, right?
Right, but he also wrestled. He wrestled a lot.
Yeah.
It was three of them, and it was also they also was the first to really have like a theme song, because Michael Hayes was in music. You know, they had Bad Street, Atlanta, GA.
Right.
That was sung by Michael Hayes. And,
right.
They were one of the first pioneers to actually have a theme song. It wasn't a record. It wasn't a song by another artist that they just used. It was their record. They made it for their entrance, and it was really, really popular. Bad Street, Atlanta, GA. Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, and Buddy Jack Roberts. Yeah, they were pretty good. They got the Von Erichs over, and then the Von Erichs got them over.
Absolutely.
Just as much as the Von Erichs was loved in Dallas, the Freebirds was hated. They couldn't go to the supermarket either, but it was because of different reasons. They'd get their ass whipped.
Right.
But, when that happens, you're really doing your job. It sounds strange, but I'll never forget, speaking of being over and a bad guy, I believe it was Sergeant Slaughter, and I don't know what kind of war was going on, and I don't know, something was going on, and Vince had, Sergeant Slaughter was a bad guy at first, and Sergeant Slaughter did something. I can't recall what it was. I think he was Ayatollah Slaughter, or he was, I don't know. He did something with the flag. And I think before, with one of these flags, this is how much Slaughter was hated.
You're talking about when he turned, when he was feuding with Hogan?
No, I can't remember who he was feuding with.
During the Iraqi war?
It might have been, but Hogan wouldn't get anybody over, really. Hogan just got himself over. I don't know. This guy was, I don't know who he was feuding with, but I know before they did the gimmick in the ring that Slaughter was going to do, they literally had security guards planted at Sergeant Slaughter's house to protect his family.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you heard about that. It's going to get that much
Absolutely.
heat. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how real that's how real that got for him.
Exactly. Right.
I'm sure this is probably...
if you burn the flag or whatever, spit on it or whatever, or do something, some nut job down south or wherever, could very well damage, try to do something to you or your family. So before they did the gimmick, they had Slaughter's house had a bodyguard assigned to his wife for like a month or so, until everything kind of died down. But now that's what you call heat. That's a little too much heat for me.
That's too much heat.
But that's how it was back then, man. That's how it was back then.
And they strived for that. They strived for that type of
Yeah. Hey, sometimes they would cause a riot.
On purpose.
On purpose.
On purpose.
On purpose.
That kind of stuff could not go down today.
No, not at all. I'm trying to think of a movie. It was about a wrestler, and the guy played Webster's father on, if you remember Webster, the little midget guy.
Oh yeah.
Hung around Emmanuel Lewis. I think it's Emmanuel. Yeah. I forget the guy who played his father on that sitcom. He played a wrestler. And I don't know if anybody's listening that can help me out with the name of this movie. But it was about a professional wrestler who was a bad guy. I don't know if you recall this. I can't think of the name of the movie, but I YouTubed it, throughout the summer, but when it came to my mind. But it was about a guy who was a wrestler, and he was a bad guy. He was a cowboy, and he was a heel.
Right.
And he got so much heat that his kid got beat up in school.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is a true movie about professional wrestling. One of the early movies. Like I said, if anybody's listening, can call in and give me the title or whatever. Well, they're not listening because this is the archive show. But this guy had gotten so much heat that he was getting threatening letters to his house. His kid got beat up in school because he was the father of this kid, to the point that he went to the promoters and said, I can't take it anymore. If I'm going to continue to wrestle, he used to wear a black cowboy hat to the ring. And the theme of the movie was he couldn't take all the hate mail and the threats and everything. So he asked the people that was running the federation at the time to turn him into a face. And he please. And he put on a white hat and he turned into a baby face, and everything was okay. Because I think he had told the people, because he was a good wrestler or whatever, I think he said, if you want me to keep wrestling, you're going to have to turn me into a good guy because my life is being threatened and my kid is being, getting his ass kicked in school. I mean,
right.
I mean, really. So, they and this movie came out, I want to say, in the late 70s, early 80s. One of the first movies about professional wrestling. I wish I could think of the name of it, but that was the
I have to research. That one.
Yeah, well, if I think about it, I'll let you know the title.
Definitely. On my list, surprisingly, quite possibly, are the Steiner brothers. And
wow,
the Steiner brothers. The Steiners. One thing I liked about them, they were innovative with the moves. I do believe that they took liberties with a lot of wrestlers and they hurt a lot of wrestlers, but they definitely were an innovative team. And another team, and this may surprise some people. I think that one of these guys is the only person that's on both of our lists with different partners. And that would be the Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ole and Arn.
Ole and Arn. Different type of team. Tully added a different dynamic to the team, but especially with Ole, they did tag team wrestling in a different way from the Midnight Express or the Rock and Roll Express. Whereas though they would concentrate on one part of the body and just work that part of the body.
Little
very
known
effective.
Little known fact. You probably know, but we're not talking about the original Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
Correct.
The original Minnesota Wrecking Crew was Ole Anderson and Gene.
Correct.
Anderson.
Correct.
And they would hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ole was a good wrestler, just one of the nastiest, most miserable, horrible individuals you ever wanted to meet. And apparently that's why he wasn't inducted into the Hall of Fame with the Four Horsemen.
Right.
And Barry Windham works for the WWE before he took ill. But and on top of that, according to Teddy Long, he was a racist, an open racist.
Yeah, and that doesn't seem that unbelievable.
He was just a despicable person outside of the ring, but he was a good wrestler.
I mean, but just as a person, I've seen him do interviews, and it's just not somebody that you want to.
No.
Yeah.
No. He back in the day here in Baltimore, we would say he is straight from Wilkins Avenue, South Baltimore nonstop, or Anne Arundel County.
Yeah.
He was a pickup driving, flag waving, gun in my truck type guy. But he was a good wrestler, and I still think he should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I think it's to the point that he didn't want to be or something. He didn't. Don't bother.
Yeah, him and Bruno really don't want to go into the Hall of Fame. and that's unfortunate, I think, for the fans of both of those wrestlers. No matter what they think of Vince McMahon.
You're telling me something I didn't know. Bruno Sammartino is not in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Bruno Sammartino is not in the WWE Hall of Fame. He says he does not want to go in. He does not respect the Hall of Fame, and he doesn't respect what wrestling has become, and he refuses. They've made several attempts to get him to agree to go into the Hall of Fame, but living, he will not be going in the Hall of Fame unless something drastically changes.
Wow. Oh.
And he definitely should be in it. He's definitely...
Well, yeah, he should be in it. It's unbelievable that Bruno didn't like the fact that Vince told the secret.
Right.
That's
a big problem with them. He kept that going with his family 20 years. And when Vince came out and said what he said, he was, I guess he felt as though it made him look like he was a liar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not want Vince to go down this sports entertainment road, but Vince said, you know what, to hell with it. I want the tax break. And it had something to do with some type of tax money. He had to say that it was entertainment, along with some sport. But that did it. And according to Bruno, he thought the steroids, and then a lot of guys in the locker room was on steroids and things, and said Vince turned to he knew what was going on, and he didn't say anything, and blah blah blah. Now he never said Vince supplied the guys with steroids, but he definitely said that Vince knew what was going on in his locker rooms, and it was okay.
And I'm sure he did. Of course, every Tuesday, 11 p.m., we are right here talking professional wrestling, and we will be back next week, of course, with more talk, and definitely want to talk about some of these happenings in the WWE, and we'll do that at a later time.
I thought Raw was halfway decent this week.
It actually was, and I definitely want us to do a review of that later on this week, so we'll get together on a schedule and figure out when we can do that. But yeah, pretty good show this week, so we'll talk about that.
We finally got the tag team show out the way.
Yeah, finally.
We've been trying to do it ever since June.
Right. All right,
all right, Diamond K, we'll talk to you next Tuesday night on Pro Wrestling Talk.
Sounds good. Thanks
all right.